Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Soccer Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We have a great show for you today. We will be covering Spain defeating England to win the European Championship. We'll cover Argentina defeating Colombia to win the Copa America. We'll talk about England continuing to stick with Southgate if he would like to stay on. We'll talk about the Spanish side, whether or not they can replicate the dominance of the Spanish sides from the past, specifically the team of 2008 to 12, and if they can replicate that sort of level of dominance. And make sure you stick around for the end of the show, where I'll be, as always, reacting to some of the top soccer headlines in the world. And mostly there's going to be a lot of these players waiting till the end of the European Championship to announce their international retirements, with the likes of Thomas Muller, Olivier Giroud, Shadran Shaqiri, and more. We talk about that at the end of this segment. Before we start off, at the end of the show, before we start off, I'd like to ask that y'all like and follow the show. Also, we get a number of questions that come in during the show. So to ensure that your questions get read on the air, I ask that you use the GSMC podcast. I ask you to use the link that's found on your screen right there, gsmcpodcast.net. Send your questions to the link. This puts your questions at the top of the list so that I can see it, and it also really helps grow the show. So again, the link is gsmcpodcast.net. Spain defeated England 2-1 with a game-winning goal with the last few minutes left in the game from Mikel Oyarzabal to give them the 2-1 victory over England. It was Spain who took the lead first, straight out of the halftime locker room. Just to start off that second half, Lamine Yamal is able to find Nico Williams, and Nico Williams slots it home to make it 1-0. And then, out of nowhere in the 70th minute or so, I believe, out of nowhere, because they had no real sustained dominance, no real sustained pressure on Spain, out of nowhere, in the 73rd minute, England were able to counter. Bukayo Saka found himself acre in space, was able to bring the ball up, play it into Bellingham, who lays it off, one-touch layoff to Cole Palmer, and Cole Palmer nestles it into the back of the net and make it 1-1. And then on for the next few minutes or so, it seemed like, Spain could be a little bit in trouble, but Spain were able to withstand that pressure, just like how England were able to withstand the pressure after Spain went up 1-0 through some amazing saves from Pickford, by the way. But yeah, England, they were able to survive. Spain were able to survive that pressure. They slowly grew back into the game as the time went on. And a brilliant ball from Oyarzabal to Cucurella, and then Cucurella plays in another brilliant one-time ball into the path of Oyarzabal, who's able to get on the right side of Guehi and slots it away to make it 2-1 to essentially win the European Championship for Spain. Look, there's a lot of ways that you could break this down. There's plenty of ways that you could break this down, but I will say the better team won. The better team won. The team that looked more progressive, that looked more control of the game, that looked better throughout the entirety of the game, won the European Championship. And to be fair, it's not hugely surprising that Spain were the better team, because Spain have been performing much better than England at this European Championship. You go to the stats of this game, and Spain had 16 shots to England's 9, 6 shots on target for England. But the big stat is 66% possession for Spain compared to 34% for England. At this sort of level, the quality is very even. You could argue in terms of individual players, maybe England has a little bit more quality. But whatever you think, whoever you believe has more quality, there should not be a 66% possession gap to 34 for England. With the level of players that this England national team have, they should never have below 35% possession in the game. And for that to happen in a cup final, they were just completely outclassed. And, 2-1 made it seem a little bit closer than what it was. But to be honest, Pickford was probably England's man of the match in this game. So really, Spain really should have took care of that game in the beginning of that second half. Because once they went up 1-0, it just seemed like England were just reeling at that point. And Spain had, multiple opportunities to make it to multiple chances that they created and multiple opportunities to create a chance where they just couldn't get that final ball right. And when they did get the final ball right, Pickford came up with the save. And yeah, I mean, honestly, Spain, they saved football. For England to win the European Championship, and with how dreadful that they've been, and the fact that they were 30 seconds away from getting knocked out by Slovakia in the round of 16, I think we got, football got saved. It was Spain winning this European Championship because, at the end of the day, sometimes I understand playing pragmatic football and, playing in transition, but this England team, they were just so woeful and so dreadful. And, they didn't play pragmatic out of necessity. They had the quality of players to play up. And if not, if you want to play a little bit more pragmatic, at least be more appealing to watch. I've seen Mourinho teams in the past that they play an amazing transition system. You had no transition from England. This, they'd get sucked in. They'd get sucked in low. They'd get suffocated. They'll be pushed back, and once they regained the ball, they couldn't play out. It's the same story for this England team. In these games, the way that England lost this game to Spain was the exact same way that they lost to Italy in the last European Championship final. It was the exact same way they lost to Croatia in the European Championship, in the World Cup in 2018. It was a little different with France because France plays different from, Spain, Italy, and Croatia at those times, because France is more of a transition team themselves as well. They just happen to do it better than England. But the other games, Italy, Croatia, and now in this game, what happened? England would concede most of the ball. They'd get sucked in, they'd get suffocated, and once they get the ball back, they couldn't play out because of how deep they were sucked in. They had no real outlet to play out. Happened over and over and over again, and it's the same story here again. It is the exact same story, and let's be honest, this is the first major team that they played at this European Championship, Spain. All the major teams were on one side of the bracket. Spain, France, Germany, Portugal to an extent. England, this was their first real major test out of the big teams, and 66% possession. And yes, they found themselves an opportunity to, potentially, push it to extra time. But for me, that's just the individual quality amongst these players. I don't want to rant too much on England. I do want to say Spain, they were absolutely brilliant. They were amazing this entire tournament. Rodri, he's been the player of the tournament. Absolute class. In his first real tournament has been the composer for Spain because he hasn't really got to play that position. He's been great. Fabian Ruiz controlled the game next to him. Dani Olmo, in the opportunities he's had while he's played, he's been amazing in terms of making late runs into the box. And, he kind of plays that, Dani Olmo, similar to Cole Palmer in the sense that he has the capacity to get in and score a goal. He's kind of a hybrid, can play midfield and wing, and he does it so well. And picks up brilliant pocket of spaces. The defense, the back line, you look at a center back partnership, Lenormand and Laporte. These are two guys that were kind of French castaways. They're French, but they couldn't. But they had a brilliant tournament. Cucurella, there's been major criticism over the past few years at Chelsea, but this tournament, he's been sensational. Carvajal, the same. But obviously, the big story amongst these is these two wingers, Nico Williams, Lamine Yamal, the future for Spain, the next 15 years for Spain. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Lamine Yamal, first player ever to be involved in a goal or assist, round 16, quarterfinal, semifinal, final. And he did that at 16 majority of the tournament. 17, he just turned 17 a day before the final. That was the only game he played as a 17-year-old. And it was early 17. Just sensational. You can't put into words how great that is. The Spain team, they're very, very good. They're the best team. I said this early on, but I said this is the best team since the dominant Spain teams from 2008 and 12, and they've proven me right because they've been absolutely brilliant this tournament. The way that they knocked out the host in the quarterfinal, they got past France despite conceding early, despite going down early, and then they took care of England. The run that they had at this European Championship, beating Croatia, beating Italy, Albania, Georgia, France, and Germany, and then England. That's an amazing run. That's an amazing run. You cannot say that they're nothing but worthy. They're by far worthy, and we'll talk about this later on. But this Spain team potentially in result of dominance. Going back to England, individual players, Harry Kane, he didn't really provide no runs in from behind. That's not really his game, but he's had an element of being a little bit vertical. If he dropped it in midfield, he wouldn't be effective because there was no real runners. He was kind of dropping down just really to draw a foul. Just didn't look at the levels. Saka, he was decent. Foden, nothing this tournament, to be fair. He was pretty bad. And for me, Kane, Bellingham, Foden, Saka, this front four, they've been or front three with Bellingham under them. They've been horrible, but Gareth Southgate has continued repeatedly to choose them. We'll talk about this in a later segment when we talk about him. It just doesn't make sense to me. Declan Rice, I thought sometimes his progression play was bad. I thought some moments he was decent. I thought the back four was the strong part of this team. The back four and Pickford, the strong part of this team, and pushed them to get here. But apart from that, and then Jude Bellingham, for me, I think he's been very poor at this tournament. I think he had that one individual moment of quality where he dropped those two Spanish players and whisked the shot wide. But apart from that, I thought it was poor. I thought his attitude has been poor this entire tournament. Falling on the floor, whinging at every call. In this entire tournament, he's been poor. Besides that one moment of magic that pushed England past Slovakia, and you could say that got them to the final, because without that they would have got eliminated. But apart from that, I thought he's been really, really poor this entire tournament. I think his attitude has been bad. Yeah, there's the things I'm hearing, regarding how people in the locker room perceive him, and honestly wouldn't surprise me, because some things that I think he does on the pitch is kind of attention seeking, in my opinion. It's the way he whinges on the floor. It really rubs me the wrong way. I don't want to make this too personal, but yeah, he was nowhere near Ballon d'Or level, and I think this final, kind of guaranteed that he's not winning the Ballon d'Or, which, yeah. Before the break, after the break, we'll be discussing Argentina versus Colombia. Argentina winning Copa America. Stay tuned for that.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit, I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant, I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip, you choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Before the break, we talked about Spain defeating England to win Euro 2024. We move on to discuss Argentina have defeated Colombia. Argentina defeated Colombia to win the 2024 Copa America. Messi and Argentina have won back-to-back Copa America, and this is sandwiched in between, or a World Cup sandwich in between those two tournaments. Absolutely sensational achievement for Argentina, and they get the win through an extra time winner by none other than Lautaro Martinez, who came off the bench. He's actually been their leading goal scorer. He's been their leading goal scorer at this Copa America. So in the 112th minute, he came off the bench, but in the 112th minute, he's able to get the goal. Messi had to leave the game early in the 67th or so minute or so because of an ankle injury. If you saw the actual video afterwards, it's a nasty ankle injury. But at the end of the game, we saw him celebrating, we saw him lifting up the trophy, and at the end of the day, Argentina, they are Copa America champions. Look, there's a lot of things that happened regarding this. There was a lot of problems before the game. You saw, the game was delayed by, I believe the game was set to kick off 7 o'clock my time, and the game ended up actually kicking off 8:45. So almost a 2-hour delay because of security issues, and it's been just a poor tournament overall. Really poor tournament overall. We'll probably talk about that in later shows. But regarding the game was delayed for a while. We saw fans trying to get into the security ducts and stuff. But yeah, it is what it is. The United States have successfully hosted a lot of previous big tournaments, like the 2016 Copa America. So what's wrong with this one? What went wrong here? I don't know. But regarding this game exactly, I thought it was a very interesting nature of the game. I thought Colombia had their bright moments, had their opportunities early on. I thought they had opportunities early on to really make Argentina pay. I thought early in the game they were better. They were better than Argentina. They created more chances. They were more lively in dangerous areas. They played with the element of a high energy, and they were creating plenty of opportunities throughout the game. But Cordoba I thought Rodriguez too had some balls that he picked out. It was absolutely brilliant. One ball he picked out that led to an opportunity that skimmed off the post. I thought he was really good in the games he played, in the play he had. But I'd say this, Luis Diaz, this game, he got a few opportunities in dangerous areas. One opportunity where he could have laid off the ball. Another that he could have done better. I thought this tournament he has not played to his best. I thought he hasn't been that good, honestly. To his level, he has not been that good. And it's been up and down for him at Liverpool since he came back for injury. And in this tournament, he didn't take off like I expected him to do with this Colombian side. And if he did, man, this Colombian team is probably the champions because, the way that they performed despite him not playing to his best. But, and the crazy thing is, throughout this game, Nestor Lorenzo, our Colombian manager, he actually, throughout the game, if you looked at the players that played last, all the attackers and midfielders, they were all subbed out. I've never seen anything like this. Luis Diaz, Cordoba, Rodriguez, Arias, Lerma, Rios, they were all subbed out. The back, Mojica, Cuesta, Sanchez, and Arias all stayed the same. By the way, Sanchez had an opportunity too that he could have done better on. But them four stayed the same. But the rest of them, they came off the pitch. But as far as I was saying, when you're playing against a team like Argentina that has this pedigree, that they're good with playing dirty, they're fine, taking the back foot at times in certain games and picking their moments to really make you pay. With the opportunities that come, you gotta be clinical, because the longer it stayed 0-0, the better it was for Argentina. Because let's be fair, Colombia, they're the better team right now. They're playing better team. They're coming in with better form. They play more attack-minded. But Argentina, they have the grit, they have the determination, they have the ability. And in these sort of moments, the longer it stayed 0-0, it just, we knew it was coming. We knew Argentina was going to make them pay. And it came through a moment of transition with Lautaro Martinez playing in behind, going in behind. I think it was Paredes that played the ball, I believe. I have no idea, but I know Paredes, he did very good to win the ball back and to spring the attack in the first place. But Lisandro Martinez, Christian Romero, really, really good. Lisandro Martinez, as the tournament went on, he replaced Otamendi. Really, really, really good performance. I thought Enzo at times was decent. I thought Di Maria didn't play really to his final best, but I thought McAllister had an opportunity early that he should have done better on. He was decent. Rodrigo De Paul, oh my goodness, warrior, absolute warrior, winning the ball back. The work rate he gives, he has that little bit of quality as well, but the work rate he provides for this Argentinian team. I thought Messi was, especially since he was basically immobile. I thought they played better with whenever I believe it was Nicolas Gonzalez came in, because Nicolas Gonzalez actually gave you an outlet to attack from that side too. It was a little bit more of a fluid front three. I thought Messi was kind of playing with 10 men, especially since he got injured. And whenever Nicolas Gonzalez came in, I thought it made the attack of Argentina a little bit more dynamic, and I thought it made it a little bit easier to stove off the pressure of Colombia, because he was, they had more of an attacking outlet, a more threat in behind to keep Colombian fullback more back and more weary of his threat. But Lionel Scaloni, he's continue on to enhance his legacy at Argentina of winning major international tournaments. In their ability, they've only lost 3 games since 2019. That's incredible. That's 60 plus matches that they've only lost 3 games. That is an incredible record and Lionel Scaloni is an incredible international manager. They have a sense of, sometimes being able to take on and dominate games when they need to, but a lot of the time, they're very pragmatic and they wait for individual moments and they take advantage of it with the quality that they have, and they have won another Copa America, and it's absolutely phenomenal for them. And Lionel Messi, he has 3. If you told me before in 2019 or 2021, Messi will have 3 international trophies at this point in 2024, there was no way I was going to believe you. You just looked at his international career at Argentina and, You looked at it from a Messi perspective, it was just nothing but regret. But now it's just pure jubilation. So great for Messi, great for Scaloni, and great for this Argentinian team. Great for Lautaro Martinez too. Last World Cup, yeah, he won a World Cup. He was a World Cup champion for Argentina, but he was horrible the entire tournament. And to come back and be what he's been at this Copa America and doing a majority off the bench, he's been great. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we'll talk about England continuing to stick with Gareth Southgate if he would like to stay on.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
Before the break, we talked about Argentina defeating Colombia to win the 2024 Copa America. We move on to discuss England. Should England continue to stick with Gareth Southgate if he would like to stay on? No. 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 No, 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 no. That is looking at it from an English from someone who roots for that team's perspective. Now, if you're looking at it from my perspective, who actively roots against England, well, absolutely they should stick with Gareth Southgate if he would like to stay on. I mean, who wouldn't? He's reached 2 cup final, back-to-back European Cup finals. He reached the semi-final for the World Cup. Most successful England manager, you know, besides whoever won that 1966 World Cup. Forgot his name at the top of my head. But yeah, he's been so successful. England will dream to keep him. Okay. Look, I'll say this. I'll say this. With the people that say he's been the most successful England manager, I really think that's not saying much, because this is a country that hasn't won a major international tournament since 1966, and they've only won one in their history. It doesn't take much to be, you know, the most successful. You just reach a few cup finals like he did, and tournament finals, and that's successful. But it doesn't really take much to be successful as the manager of the English national team. It really does not, especially when you have the level of quality amongst this team. There's plenty of managers out there that could replicate Gareth Southgate's success of getting to, you know, a few finals and a semi-final and not win anything. There's plenty of managers that'll do that, but I don't think there's plenty of managers that will get it over the top. Actually, there is plenty of managers that will get it over the top. And Southgate, he's not. Southgate, by nature, he's too pragmatic, and he doesn't fit the players that there is. There's a lot of players amongst this team, and Southgate has a defensive approach. And look, a lot of people, they want to blame the players for the pragmatic nature of when they score a goal or when they equalize, that they naturally get pushed back. But other managers, you know, they won't allow it. You know, if you look at like some of these other managers, they will run on the field to physically manhandle and push the players up the field if they push back and if they start being pragmatic. The other managers, they won't allow it. Now the players have blame too. I think the players have blame too, because the players did not play to their level of quality as well. Phil Foden, horrible this tournament. Jude Bellingham, horrible this tournament. Declan Rice, horrible this tournament. But the manager has some major responsibilities. He's naturally too pragmatic. Despite this team playing horrible game in, game out, he made little changes, especially Harry Kane, Phil Foden, Saka. That set of attacking players, and add Bellingham to it, they did not do nothing. They've been that front 3 or 4 has not accomplished anything this tournament. They've played horrible while they're on the pitch, but he's never changed it. He's never decided to change it. Why? Other managers, they see this level of play and they decide to make a change. He never changed. In fact, he waited to make a change till they started going down, and he had to be reactionary throughout that Switzerland game, that Spain game. He waited to go down before he brought on Ollie Watkins and Cole Palmer. Exact same thing in that Switzerland game. It makes no sense to me why he's so reactionary and why he waits till the end. And let's be honest, Southgate has gotten to 2 European Championship finals, but those 2 European Championship finals that he got to, including the World Cup as well, he has been absolutely blessed with the luck of the draws that he has gotten. Absolutely blessed. Oh my goodness, he has been blessed with the luck of the draws that he's got in this tournament. He didn't take on a major team to the final. He got to play. England played Slovakia, in which they almost found a way to lose. They should have lost that game. Switzerland, another game that they should have lost. Netherlands, in which they had their best game at the tournament, but everybody wants to ignore that they were horrible in that second half. And that was a third place team, by the way. Netherlands, they finished third place, and they're not a major team in my opinion. And that's how they got to the final. Now, that's how England got to the final. But if you look at the European Championship before that, they played the entire European Championship and they played the entire European Championships at home, besides the quarterfinal where they played Ukraine and Italy. But apart from that, they played the entire European Championship in Wembley. They played Germany in the round of 16, a Germany team that barely managed to squeak into the knockout stages, despite Germany having their games in Munich at home throughout the group stages. They were a last-minute goal away from not even being there. They scraped in as a third-place team. And keep in mind, the 2 World Cups sandwiched outside of those Euros, they got eliminated in the group stages. It was eliminated in the group stages, round the 16 Euros, and eliminated in the group stages at the next World Cup. That Germany team was not good. They got past that Germany team. They were blessed to play Ukraine in the round of quarterfinals. And then they got to play Denmark team, which was a good team, that European Championship, but not a semifinal team, in which they played Italy, and they got outclassed. 60+% possession from Italy. They got sucked deep as always. They couldn't play out after winning the ball back. Same old story. Let's go back to the World Cup in 2018. They played a Colombia team that sneaked their way into the round of 16 with a with a late goal against Senegal that they got through into the round of 16 where they took on England. By the way, they did win that group, Colombia, and England finished second. But, they could have got eliminated in the group stages. And that Colombia team, they were decent, but they were not, they were not strong. They were not the Colombian team of 2014. They got to play England, and they pushed England to penalties. In England, they broke their curse. I guess they won in penalties. And then they got to play Sweden team in the quarterfinals, which is actually a decent Sweden team. I think that was it was impressive that they were able to get that win. Okay, and then Croatia, the first real major test that they faced at that World Cup, same thing as always. 56% possession for Croatia, I believe. Despite England scoring early on, Croatia grew into the game, started dominating possession, really made England sucked in deep. That's back when they were playing a back 5 and they were pushed into a 5, and the midfield had so much work they had to do. Jesse Lingard and Dele Alli, they were asked to do so much and they just couldn't handle it anymore, and they eventually folded, and Croatia were able to get to the final, and it's just the same story with Gareth Southgate. He's not the manager to push you over the top. He's not. He relies too much on individual moments. They play so pragmatic. They're so hard to watch, and they don't play to the level of the quality of players. They don't have a game that they don't have performances where they can dominate these teams, especially the big teams. Even the weaker teams that they couldn't dominate when they played, the likes of Serbia, Slovenia, Slovakia. They couldn't dominate those sort of teams. So how do we expect them to dominate a team like a Portugal or a France? Or France is actually a bad example, but a Portugal or a Belgium or Spain or any of that. How do we expect them to go in and play forward-minded against those teams if they're not even capable of doing those Slovakian stuff? And at the end of the day, if you're not able to dominate Slovakia, then the manager's a problem, because the players are good enough to dominate Slovakia. There's no way Slovakia should be 30 seconds away from knocking out England in the European Championship. But the manager is a problem too. They need to bring in, and you don't even need a world-class tactician, a manager that everybody knows to win at the international level. Luis de la Fuente, he kind of came up the Gareth Southgate way. But Luis de la Fuente, he just happens to play a more progressive style. They happen to be more dominant, and he was just a better man. He's just a better manager than Southgate. Yeah, there's no way England should continue to stick with Gareth Southgate, flat out. That's just my opinion. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we'll move on to talk about the Spain national. Actually, I'm going to read that comment again. Gareth Southgate needs to be out between England formation is not too great until they bring in Harry Kane and England. Yeah, I agree with your comment, brother. BRS Contreras. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we'll discuss the Spanish side.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Before the break, we talked about England and them, their decision that they have to make with Gareth Southgate. But we move on to talk about Spain. The Spain team, they had a very dominating run at this European Championship, winning 7 of 7 games. And if you look at the 7 teams that they beat, the majority of those teams, brilliant teams. You game past Croatia, who just got to the semifinal of the World Cup 2 years ago, actually finished 3rd place at the World Cup. You have Italy. They beat Albania with the second team. They dismantled Georgia despite going down a goal early. And then they beat the host, Germany, which in my opinion was their most impressive win of this European Championship. They were able to beat France. Not many teams can say that they've beaten France at a major international tournament over these past few years. They were able to get past France in the semifinals. And then in the final, they beat England, and they stopped the trophy going home. That is an amazing run. That is an absolutely amazing run of fixtures, an absolutely amazing set of games, and it's brilliant from Spain. And wow, I said this early on. I was on record saying this early on. I want to toot my horn because I got it right early, in my opinion. But I said this early on in the tournament, this is the best Spain team. I think I said this after the Italy game. But this is the best Spanish side that we have seen since they won the European Championships in 2008, World Cup in 10, and European Championships again in 2012. This is the base Spain side since then, because Spanish sides in between those teams and these teams, Spanish sides in between those, they've still had that quality in terms of being able to control possession of a game, but they really lack that cutting edge to get the goal when they needed it, to have verticality. There was no cutting edge amongst those Spanish teams. It was just a lot of just possession, but no real penetration in behind the back line. But this Spanish team, early on, we noticed it's something different. Opening game, they have 46% possession. They actually get outpossessed by a team against Croatia, and they still win that game. And they win it through being clinical, runs in behind from Morata, being vertical with Lamine from Yamal and Nico Williams, being vertical, relying on a ball in behind to Morata on a quick transition, an amazing bit of quality from Ruiz, and a set piece opportunity. Like, wow, this is a team that's clinical, that's vertical, and they're not like Spanish teams of the past in terms of, just dominating possession and passing the ball into the back of the net and, really dominating a team like that. And that's what I was like, okay, I was really impressed with that. And I was like, okay, but do they have this added element of still being able to play like Spanish teams of the past? And then the second game against Italy, and they completely outclassed them, dominated possession, really controlled the game, played like Spanish teams of the past, and, got a narrow 1-0 lead and win. And I was like, wow, so they can do both? And I was like, okay, that's what makes this team really brilliant. If you're able to control possession and have quality, but you still have that added element of being vertical, being direct, playing to the quality of players you have with the likes of Nico Williams, Lamine Yamal, that makes you very, very deadly. That makes you very, very deadly. Their ability to be flexible in terms of how they attack teams, with the fact that they can also control possession, which make it easier for your defenders. Because let's be honest, this back four, Dani Carvajal, David Carvajal, Dani Carvajal, Lenormand, Laporte, Cucurella, they're not the greatest back four. But if you're able to control possession of the game and limit the amount of opportunities that a team has to attack on you, they can do the job. And Unai Simon in the back, I think he's also a mistake waiting to happen. But if you can control the way Spain does, they're absolutely brilliant. Rodri, brilliant composer, brilliant dictator of tempo. He just controls the game, and everything goes through him, and it's just the little passes that he does to open up space for other players that you just think is just normal football, but you can't grasp how easy he makes it and how difficult of a task he does and how he does it so brilliantly and how he controls midfield. He's great player. And again, I said this a lot. This is his first first major international tournament where he solely played that role. In the past European Championship, he's played a makeshift role of sometimes he plays in a more advanced position in midfield to play with Busquets, or sometimes he has to play kind of as a center back, and he doesn't really get to have that sort of control of a game. But now he does, and in the first tournament that he's had that kind of control, they ended up winning it. He's an absolute brilliant player, and this Spanish team, they're set for a run of success because of what they do. Luis de la Fuente too, he's comfortable to play his first major tournament. He won a trophy with Spain. Keep in mind, he also won Nations League with Spain as well, I believe. So, winning Nations League, winning this, you're winning European Championship. Wow, I mean, brilliant Luis manager, in my opinion. That's a brilliant accomplishment for him, and I think he can continue with the Spain team. He knows the setup. He also knows the players coming up because he was involved with the youth rank. He's someone he brought up in the Spanish Federation. I mean, just perfect situation for them to have a sustained run of success. And now you look at the team, you look at the player, the age of the players of the team, you got a 17-year-old winger in Lamine Yamal, who was, is the, first player ever in history, not his age, just first player ever in history to be involved in a goal at a European Championship round of 16, quarterfinal, semifinal, and final. What? At 16? Turned 17 later in the tournament? He's going to be, him and Nico Williams, that's the next 15 years for Spain, with Nico Williams, 22 years old. Pedri, who wasn't really involved, was injured for the later stages of the tournament. He's going to be back, and he's going to continue to be a brilliant player. He's only 21. We don't even talk about Xavi, who was injured, who wasn't involved in the squad. He's 19. You got 19, 21, 17, 20, 21, 22 core players of this team. Even when you look at the experienced guys of this team, like a Rodri, he's 28. He's not old. Fabian Ruiz, he's 28. He's not old. Dani Olmo, 26. I think, Lenormand and Laporte, they're around that same age, 27, 30. I think, there needs to be a new center back that comes in the rank. Oh, Cucurella, I forgot about. He's only 25 as well. This is a team. They're not an old team. And now I think what could make them really, really deadly is if they have a guy in which, it's 0-0. You need a goal. If they have a reliable striker that can get 4 or 5 goals a tournament, which Morata, he's been a good servant for Spain, but he's never been that for Spain. Maybe early on, maybe at the Euro 2016 level, but since then he has not been that. He's been a good, hybrid striker, false nine, that can come in, join and play and help retain the ball and all that. But he's never been a guy that can get you 4 or 5 goals in a tournament, and that's clinical. If they can, develop a striker or get a striker that comes up in the ranks that gives you that and gives you different elements in the way that they attack, man, that can make deadly. Because keep in mind, the Spain team of past that was dominant, they were flexible. They were able to take advantage of the quality of a number 9 that Fernando Torres was in 2008. And then in 2010, Fernando Torres, he wasn't really, he didn't perform to the level he did in 2008, but you had the goals from David Villa, and, it was enough because that Spain team never conceded. And then 2012, that was when Fernando Torres fell off. They were able to completely change it up, Del Bosque, and he played, he played no striker. In fact, he played, I believe, like 6 midfielders, I believe. I think in that European Championship final, it was David Silva and Cesc Fabregas and Iniesta. That was the team was, you had the back four, right? And then it was Sergio Busquets, Xabi Alonso, Xavi Hernandez, Andres Iniesta, Cesc Fabregas, and David Silva. They didn't even have a winger in there. It was just a team full of midfielders. And, that's what that's what you need. You need flexibility. And I think if they can get a striker in, they can have that sort of flexible nature to them. And I think Spain, can they replicate the dominance of the Spain side from 2008-12? I don't think so, because, man, that's probably the greatest national team of all time. I mean, 2 European Championships, a World Cup in dominating fashion. Can they replicate that? I don't know, but they can be a serious outfit. And right now, you have to say, they're probably the favorites entering the 2026 World Cup, probably just narrowly. But yeah, it's going to be fun to watch. I think they take on Argentina in the Finalissima. That'll be coming up next year. That'll be very fun to watch as well. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll get to know more about the Spanish team as time goes on. But right now, man, they just won the European Championship, and, it could be the start of something special. Short break here coming up. When we come back, we'll react to some of the top soccer headlines going on in the soccer world. Before the break, we talked about the Spanish side. Can they replicate the dominance of previous Spanish sides? We move on to react to some of the top headlines in the soccer world. Some players have announced their international retirement, and by the way, I didn't know this was kind of a thing where people wait till the end of the European Championship to announce their retirement. Many players retired today. I was just really like, why wait? Why don't you just announce it after your team, gets eliminated? But I guess this is the respectful way to do it, so you don't overshadow the European Championship. Maybe they didn't want the European Championship to overshadow their announcement. I don't know, but yeah, Olivier Giroud, he has announced his retirement from European Championship. I believe, I thought he announced it beforehand as well, but yeah, he retired from France. He's France's all-time leading goal scorer. He's been a brilliant servant for France. Despite being looked at as the number 2 for many French fans, what he's came in and did is especially whatever Benzema was going through, his suspension or whatever he had. Really, he's been really important. If you look at the success rate of France with Giroud up top, getting to the Euro 2016 final, getting to the World Cup final in 2020, winning the World Cup in 2018, getting to the World Cup final in 2022. And if you look at what they've done through those periods, while Giroud hasn't been leading the line, like Euro 2021, where they got eliminated in the round of 16, Euro 2024, where they got eliminated in the semifinals, the difference of level of performance and the difference of how fluid the attack looks with Giroud in there, not in there, has been completely different things. And I think this puts France in a little bit of a desperate situation going in to this next World Cup with even this European Championship, they look desperate because, Giroud wasn't at that top level to be the number 9 leading the line. It puts them in a little bit of a situation where they need to find the replacement, and it's a guy similar to Giroud, because having that target man up top, someone that Mbappe can run in, can play off of and run in behind off of, makes this French team more deadly. And they just, how lackluster the attack looks without the likes of a player of Giroud. They look like two different teams and two different attacks, in my opinion. I mean, France, they looked woeful at this World Cup. 2018, they won the World Cup, right? But they decided to go with the front 3 of, I believe, Mbappe, Griezmann, and Dembele, I believe, in 2018, and it just looked really bad. Looked really bad in that first half against Australia. They bring in Giroud, and they take off. They never looked better, and they went on and they won the World Cup. 2021, they played Benzema up top, who is, naturally a better striker, but that attack, it never looked as fluid as it looked in 2018. And then 2022 with Giroud up top, they, look very fluid attack as always. They got to the final, they lost, right? And then 2024 Euros, Giroud, he wasn't at the level to be the number 9 game in, game out. And, well, they scored one open goal. One open goal. Besides an own goal, they scored one open goal the entire European Championship. It just shows that Giroud is an important part of the attack, and France have to be very unique in the way that they replace him, because, wow, it's very important. Xherdan Shaqiri, he retires from Swiss, another brilliant server for Switzerland. Each tournament, he's just absolutely dominating. This tournament he played with the role off the bench, but the one opportunity he started against Scotland, he scored an absolute belter. That's just the player he is. Some of the goals that he's had in World Cup has been absolutely phenomenal, and he's been big in big time moments for Switzerland. Going back to the 2014 World Cup, what he did against Honduras, scoring a hat trick in a big time game to push them into the knockout stages. going to the 2016 Euros, again, big time moment, that bicycle kick to push them to extra time against Poland. I think they ended up actually losing that game, but still, 2020 2018 World Cup, that goal that he scored against Serbia to win them that game, that got them through to the knockout stages, essentially. Big time moment. I'm thinking, hold on. What did they do once? Did they get through to the knockout stages of that World Cup? Because I forgot. Who did they take on? Oh, yeah, they took on Sweden in that round of 16. In the round of 16 in the 2018, yeah. And then 2021 Euros. Shedran Shaqiri, big time moment against Turkey again, scoring an absolute wonder goal. Ended up scoring an equalizing goal against Spain too in the quarterfinals to push them into extra time. He just shows up in big time moments for Switzerland. He's been a brilliant server. He's been their best player, their talisman over the past years or so. And yeah, he has on. I believe he retires as. I don't think he's their all-time top scorer. I don't think so. I think he's. Let me check real quick. Yeah, he is fourth. Okay, I thought he would be higher, but he's actually fourth in terms of all-time goals, was 32. But he's 2 goals away from being 2. So, tight margins there. But, yeah, he's a brilliant, brilliant player, Shedran Shaqiri, and great servant for Switzerland as well. Thomas Muller, he also announced his retirement for Germany, and what a brilliant international career. I mean, he started off his international career with the absolute bang in the 2010 World Cup. I believe he finished that 2010 World Cup with like 5 or 6 goals, something of that crazy nature. In 2000, yeah, he scored 5 goals in 2010, and then you're like, okay, wow, he was, and he played that tournament in 2010, and he was only 20 years old, and he was leading the line for Germany, a team that reached the semifinal, and then he went on in that second World Cup in 2014, and he scores another 5 goals, right? And he's 24, and he had 10 goals in the World Cup. And everyone is thinking, oh, he's about to smash Ronaldo's record of 15 goals. No, it was Ronaldo's record of 15 goals, but then Miroslav Klose, I believe he broke it by making it 16 in that World Cup. Actually, you're like, wow, he's gonna smash this record. He's only 24. He has 10 goals. But then sadly, he didn't go on to score another goal at the World Cup. And it's just, that's what it is at this international level. It's so difficult. But that does not take away from the brilliant career he had for Germany of leading the line, of being that creative hybrid sort of player in terms of being able to get a goal, but also being able to create, being able to play as a number 9 or being able to play under a 9. And he wasn't even the lone striker. He was playing under Miroslav Klose, kind of as an attacking midfield sort of role, kind of like a Griezmann role, but in a different sort of way. And he was still able to get those goals early on for Germany. But yeah, he's been a great server for Germany. He's been a leader. He was part of that team that won a World Cup, and he's been a leader throughout the Germany and over the past few years of this kind of shift in generation through the bad times that they've had. So yeah, Thomas Muller, absolutely brilliant player, and it's sad to see him retire, because when I think of Germany, I think of Thomas Muller, and he's just a great personality. I love watching him play, and his celebrations too, the way he's visible and like that. It's just he just epitomizes German football, and it's sad to see him retire. Ronald Araujo, he's out for 4 months after surgery for the hamstring issue. He was injured while Uruguay's quarterfinal win against Brazil, and he ended up missing the rest of the tournament. Well, now he has decided he needed an operation on the injured hamstring, and yeah, he will be out for 4 months, and he'll return in November. And he carried out the test at Kyoto Esportiva, and it showed that he had a right hamstring injury, and then the surgery. He's gonna be led by Dr. Leslie Pitidin, supervised by Barcelona. It'll be in Finland, and then after the procedure, they'll have a little bit more of an updated medical update. So, yeah, bad news for Barcelona as they'll be losing Ronaldo for multiple months. But yes, thank you guys for listening, tuning into the GSMC Soccer Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show and leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content updates. Thank you once again, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my